Hello fellow horn and brass players. Today's video is all about pivoting to get between registers, what that means and why you may not need to do it. So I'm going to share 3 secrets on how to get through our breaks and between registers smoothly without having to make radical changes to how we set the horn on our face or the angle at which we play. So what do I even mean by pivoting anyway? Well, for years, I used to believe that I had to have a different setting for my low notes than my high notes, and it looked something like this. So I was doing a couple things there. One is my angle was changing between the upper G and the lower G, and then my corners were going really far down to play the lower G, as well as my jaw was kind of moving laterally this way. And there is going to be some natural jaw falling and raising as we play, and that is totally fine. But when we start moving the jaw this way, it can create a lot of tension back here and create a lot of problems for us if we're setting our jaw in kind of an unnatural forward or backward motion that we stick in for a long time. So what is the first secret to minimizing our need to pivot? So the first one I would say is to make sure that you're practicing in different registers quickly in your playing. And for me, that might look like doing 3-octave scales or doing harmonic slurs over more than 1 or 2 octaves. So before I approached my practice this way, I would think about playing long tones, chromatically in very narrow registers, or something like a Clark study, which sounds like this. And Clark studies are fine. The problem is I'm covering exactly 1/2 of an octave. And if I were to do that in a lower octave, I might believe that I have to have a completely different setting. Something like and the fact is that practicing those kind of exercises that are in very narrow ranges kind of reinforces this idea that we need to reset our face or have different settings for different registers. Whereas if I play scales over 2 or 3 octaves, or I do harmonic slurs covering the same range, it's really helping me to minimize the idea that I need 2 different faces or more to get through these registers. So I might practice a 3-octave scale, something like on B flat. And you can see I'm not radically changing the angle of my mouthpiece. I'm not jutting my jaw forward and backwards, and I'm not radically frowning to get into the low register. So secret number 2 is going to be to use mouthpiece buzzing and harmonic slurs to work over our perceived breaks. For me, my breaks were always between C and C sharp and G sharp, especially in that lower octave. So from here to here. And so I will use mouthpiece buzzing, and I'll play the same kind of arpeggios that I would with a harmonic slur, but I'm going to do them on the mouthpiece. So I'm going to start on C, go to E, and back down to C, and then down to G, and back up to C. And so I might do that in 2 or 3 different chromatic keys down. And what I'm doing is I'm practicing over both of those perceived breaks between C and C sharp and G sharp. And I'm doing it with the mouthpiece only. And you can see The way that we want to buzz on the mouthpiece always, in my opinion, is to smear between note to note. And this is going to ensure that the air is carrying us and creating the vibration at the lip. If we place the air too much, we're losing all of that benefit. So always smear when you buzz. And the second thing I'm going to do is play the same thing maybe on the horn with those same harmonic slurs. And again, this is going over both of those breaks in different keys, C and C sharp, G and G sharp, and it's doing it in an extremely efficient way with just 3 notes. And I'm training myself that I don't need to do any different pivoting or angling with my mouthpiece to get from those registers. So mouthpiece buzzing and harmonics will help you get over these breaks. Now, the third secret is to think about aiming the air slightly up for the low register and slightly down for the upper register. Now, this is completely opposite of what we think we should do. We think that we should bend the air up to play high and down to play low. But the problem with that is when we play high, it can lead to a kind of pinching. And when we play low, it can lead to an extreme change in our angle as we think about the air going down into the mouthpiece. And we can find ourselves going really, really far into our upper lip. Instead, think about that air going up as we play low and down as we go high. So if I'm going to play something like a harmonic slur, I'm going to slightly think about the air going down as I play up and the air going up as I play low. And what that's going to do is it's going to stabilize the angle of the mouthpiece on our lips, which is what we want, right? We want as minimal change as possible to get from register to register. So to recap, in order to minimize or get rid of pivoting in your playing and to smooth out your breaks, secret 1, you're going to focus on practicing over 2 octaves in your practice using scales or harmonics and not get stuck with Clark studies or long tones in a very narrow range, which is just going to reinforce your changes. Secret number 2, we're going to mouthpiece buzz, smearing from note to note, and then we're going to play on the horn harmonics that are over our break periods. For me, again, C to C sharp, G to G sharp. And the third secret is to think about slightly bending the air up to play low and slightly bending the air down to play high, not the opposite. If you found this video helpful, please join my free Facebook group called Horn Players United. Of course, all brass players are welcome there. And subscribe and like this video. And I will put a link to my Facebook group in the comments of this video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.